You know, for all the shit we've been through, we've had a damn good ride.
The best.
Here on VGS, we spend a lot of time showing you different facets of the video game industry that are usually hidden from plain sight. You know this next voice from games like World of Warcraft, Mass Effect, and of course, more recently, Fallout 4. Voice actor Courtenay Taylor is on the line. Thank you again for taking the time to chat.
Oh, my pleasure. I like hearing you say Fallout 4.
Is it that obvious? Damn it. Oh, no.
Yeah.
All right.
We say out.
Interview's done. Okay, so right off the bat, what do you think, because you've been doing this a while now, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about what you do, about performing VO in games?
I think it's probably that, we just stand in front of a microphone and talk, and that, anyone can do it. It's super easy, and that it's not, real acting. Which is my favorite. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but when I started out, people were like, "Oh, honey, don't you want to be a real actor?"
Really?
This fake acting thing is really fun. But yeah, I mean, I think, people, there are certain things that you can get in front of the mic. I mean, I love doing interviews and things like that, but behind the mic, especially for video games, it's a special skill set. And it's, we work for long periods of time, and we, hopefully, if we're any good, we, bring you into a world, an imaginary world, just like on-camera actors do. And for me personally, I feel like since we don't have sets and other people to play off of when we're doing this work, it's a special skill set, and I am always, so full of admiration for my fellow voice actors who can really effectively do that and make some magic with just their voice, make you believe, that you're there, and do that sort of both those intimate scenes and also realistic, like, battle cries and battle chatter,
You've been doing this again for quite a while. What is your day-to-day like now, 2016, looking at the video game industry versus, the Knights of the Old Republic days? What would you think is, I guess, the biggest difference? 'Cause a lot of people listen to the program and really, really love the Bioware stuff and the work you've done there in the last, decade. People know you as Jack, Joanny, love those characters. Fallout 4 is the recent iteration, but the day-to-day, how's that different now?
Well, as long as we're not talking about 2-day.
Not literally 2-day, no.
I think what I notice more is that I think, Bioware was one of the front runners in game companies that were writing essentially movies. Really great stories. And that has become more of the norm. I think people see other companies who maybe weren't doing that from the get-go, see how savagely loyal Bioware fans are. And I think that's a direct result of how amazing their storytelling is. But, they leave no stone unturned. And I think, Fallout 4 was a great example of that as well. It's solid, really good storytelling, really true immersion in these worlds. People want, the next step is, virtual reality. So this industry is heading towards deeply, deeply immersive storytelling. And I think you incur that kind of, you enjoy that kind of loyalty from people when you can, it's like Star Wars, I mean, people have grown up on Star Wars. They're going back to see the movies now because it was such a great, it's a great I don't even know what the word. I get all emotional talking about that stuff, but it really is. It's like indoctrination in the best possible way, but from when you're a little kid, and these kind of games and movies that grow with you, that allow you to be part of the team, the squad, is I think the things that they seem to, in my limited knowledge, certainly, sell the most, because people are wanting to follow along. They're wanting to be a part of this. This is familiar. This is family. I always say, you see movie stars on the screen, and they're like, these larger than life people, because they're literally larger than life. You see, someone from a sitcom in the airport or something, and you're like, wait, I know that person, because they've been in your living room. But for us, for the video game experience, it's, people walk up and hug me because I've been on their squad. Like we've been together. So I think it's that sense that is overwhelmingly popular in games now, is that people want that experience. And so I'm happy to be a part of it as much as I can. And, luckily I've been able to do that so far. So, knock on wood.
Has the use of technology in the last 10 years really changed what you do in terms of providing that experience that you just illustrated, of being a part of their squad, being involved? Is it easier now that we have, like you said, we're moving into the realm of VR? There's so many different ways that they can tell you what your character's like and what they're doing. Is it easier then, or was it easier when you just had kind of that freedom of imagination, saying, this is Juani, this is what she's like, say these beautiful lines, bring the character to life in that way?
I think, that part of the process isn't broken, and so it hasn't been fixed, because there's no need. Not that much has changed as far as, the audition process and then going into the booth and doing the work. Now we don't have paper scripts very often. It's usually, scrolled on a screen in front of you. And occasionally, like with Bioware, they use a program called Veda. And sorry, my bulldog has woken up and is making grunting noises in the background. So that you can actually hear. So when you're recording, if you were an NPC, you would hear, bro-shep or fem-shep in your ears, so you kind of knew what you were reacting to. But for the most part, the process, at least in my experience, hasn't changed that much as far as straight BO. We still get the scripts, the day of. We still go in and sort of work on the fly. The auditions, we get to send in from home, which is nice, especially on a rainy Los Angeles day. But in general, it's still pretty similar, strangely enough. And, motion capture has certainly gotten more expansive and easier, as far as I think the technology has come along in that. But I know that they used to glue dots on our face, and now it's usually just like liquid eyeliner or custom dot patterns with paint. So that kind of stuff, I can't really speak to the tech side of that. I'm not that knowledgeable, but it's pretty basic still on our side of it. We still stand in a room by ourselves for the most part, and the imagination is the best tool you've got, and it's kind of hard to improve on it.
There you go. Well, take us through some of the different characters that you have encompassed in your many years of doing this. What for you, I guess, when you look back on the Rolodex of, the different chameleons that you had to change and adapt to, what are some of the voices that we know you for?
Well, I think I would like to say one of my first credits was the American Idol game, where I played the female judge, but I don't know how many people played that one.
Yeah,
so
maybe
I'm
not.
Say we'll start with Juhani, which was, I think, my third VO role in a video game. If you're super old school, Vampire the Masquerade Some people know me as Heather and Damsel and a couple of other roles from that game. And then Jack from Mass Effect and Ada Wong from Resident Evil 6. Uh-oh. We've got puppies freaking out. Hold on. Sorry.
No problem. But the big one, of course, is the most recent game that people have sunk, hundreds of hours into. You are you are us in Fallout 4.
Yes, I am the voice of your choice in the Fallout 4 game if you decide to play female.
All right, let's start with that and kind of work our way back. I had the chance a little while ago, right before the release of the game, to talk to Brian, the counterpart, who voiced the male protagonist for Fallout 4. He's taken me through the process a little bit. What was that experience like for you? You already have a lot of the experience of knowing that if you do a character right, people will idolize it. People literally love Jack of what you've done in Mass Effect. Coming to it, literally, I imagine the fan art must sometimes be a little creepy at points. But what was it like, I guess, now for Fallout 4 to come in and now realize that you are going to be the character? You are now our kind of window into this world. Was it a different experience, or did you look at it the same way?
It was a different experience because I felt like Jack was so. She was more, at least in my mind, mapped out. She kind of, when they told me what she looked like and a little bit about her backstory, it kind of, fell into place because it was such an extreme set of circumstances that she was born from. With Nora, or the female player character, it kind of grew as we went along, and there wasn't such, I think for me at least, when you look on a piece of paper and you see that someone's bald and tattooed and every other word is beep, that kind of stuff falls into place more. I definitely, it fell into place more quickly for me with her. With Nora, it was a little bit, the circumstances were a little more normal. So she kind of was sort of an onion for me.
Yeah.
And I think that they were so awesome at Bethesda to kind of see what we did. And then, the process for us was that we would go in and we would record, and then they would take a few weeks and take what we recorded and kind of, work their magic with it. And I think they so kindly and generously took kind of what we did and started to craft it together with us. I felt like, and I don't know if this is true, but that the writing became, the sarcastic lines became a little more, I mean, they're freaking magicians because they were, all the way across the country, but it felt like they knew me and were writing, more for that. And maybe I was speaking more for what they were putting down for Nora. I'm not, the lines are blurry, but it was definitely a collaboration. And it was obviously, it was a much longer time. We worked on those characters for 2 years as opposed to Jack, who, was much more sporadic.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any lines now looking back? Well, actually, let's go with this first. The game's been out for a while. People loved it. How's the experience been for you after Fallout 4?
It's been great. There's been so many people, different game franchises have different types of fans. Mm-hmm. So it's been really interesting to see how Fallout fans, and there's overlap, but there's definitely like people who are crazy for Fallout are very particular as opposed to Resident Evil fans, as opposed to Mass Effect fans. And you mentioned that the artwork for Jack must have been a little creepy at points. I have been so lucky to have encountered really lovely fans, and I'm not BSing you. I'm always sort of amazed. I'm waiting for somebody to. I mean, I've gotten the thanks for ruining what used to be a great game. With the voice protagonist thing. Yeah. People were upset, and somebody just said it last week, and I was like, okay, well, they are a naysayer still. But really, people have been fantastic. I really have not encountered any really salty, rotten, angry people. They've been wonderful and creative and really, really sweet, with a slightly more scientific bent. And
Really? What do you mean by that?
it's just interesting. Like the Fallout fans have a real, and I think there's so much detail in the game.
Mm.
There's so many things that you can do. There's so many side quests, and the level of detail that Bethesda put in is so great. I think you have to have kind of a mind for that. Like, most people aren't, at least that I've been in conversation with, and I'm sure, there's people out there who feel differently, but that it's okay to get on this game and play it for 200 hours and meander through it. And, you have a quest, but you're going to see what else is going on. Whereas in other games I've done, people have been very much goal-oriented. They want to get to the end of the game. They want to beat it. Where there's so much to discover that people are like, yeah, I'm taking my time. And when I'm done playing female, I'm going to play male.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see what else I find. And I think that's a particular type of personality that has a sense of curiosity about the whole world. I love the fact that game, you could play it over and over again. And yes, you may know how it ends, but you can do all of the stuff, and it's going to be new every single time in so many ways.
Again, speaking with Courtenay Taylor, a veteran voice actor that lended her voice to such games as Fallout 4, Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, and hundreds more, speaking now about her work with Bethesda on Fallout 4. Is there a particular line that you're looking back on? Because again, this is years of development. So you've said so many different things and so many different kind of perspectives of annoyed and happy and sad. Is there any instance that sticks in your mind of a line that you think was your favorite of all of your work in Fallout 4?
Well, I have to be honest. I said this a couple of times, so I feel bad. I feel like I should go through and pick another favorite, but it really was and I don't know if I can say this in your interview, but, I'm here to pick up 2 large pepperonis and a calzone. The name's fuck you.
Oh, go ahead. Say the full thing. Go ahead. Well, I'd love to hear it.
I'm here to pick up 2 large pepperonis and a calzone. The name's fuck you.
So why does that resonate with you, I guess?
I just think there are so many times that it was funny that this, former lawyer mother would be a badass. I loved all the Shroud lines. There were so many things, like just different. She put on like these different personas, and there was this kind of pattern of like starting out a line really normally and then throwing in an F-bomb. And it just tickled me. It just made me laugh. I don't know if I do that and I use the F-bombs a lot in real life, but yeah, I love the word fuck. So pretty much any line that has that in it. And then the Shroud was just so great. I love the idea that she would find this kind of, very innocent man who was so wide-eyed and so into the idea of justice and justice prevailing, and actually go out and be like, all right, fine, yeah, I'll do this for you. Like I'm trying to find, my son, but there's this sweet man-child, and I'm going to stop what I'm doing and go do this. And I love the idea of, justice always prevails. And it made my heart sing.
That's a good way to put it. It made your heart sing. Well, when I did mention that I was talking with you over Twitter and just talking to other people that know video games, they wanted to know, first and foremost, everyone seems to want to know, and I'm looking at your work here, it's a pattern. You do a lot of romances. You are often the character in which the protagonist falls in love with, or you usually convey some kind of character that is romanceable. Is that on purpose? Did you capture this niche early on, or is this something that just it's expected? It's a realistic character. This is what characters do.
That's so funny. Nobody's ever pointed that out. People always say, "Oh, it's you play badass chicks, Val and Evolve," and I have not really thought about that. I have had some awkward conversations about being romanceable in real life. At weddings and family functions. And
interesting.
Where I'm like, I'm going to go to the bar and get a glass of wine, and then you can tell me all about how you romanced me. That's weird. Those conversations are awkward. I just laugh about them now, but no, I think as I have gotten more roles that I think maybe that's a callback to the kinds of games that people are interested in now. I think that people that are making the games are of a certain age, and I think romance, love, committed relationships, children, these themes are coming up in games, missing children or missing children figures, having to find someone as a parent figure, or, it's in a lot of, these themes of love and loss are more popular, I think, than they've ever been. And so there's more opportunities maybe to play those kinds of roles. I certainly, in Mad Max, I auditioned for several roles, and I was pretty sure I was hoping that I would get cast as the badass chick with no legs.
Yeah.
and big guns. And then I actually landed sort of the sort of love interest. And I think maybe I'm just more available for that now than I was when I was younger. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I'm just wondering because, like you said, a lot of people are referencing your Jack character. The romance available in Mass Effect with that character is something that people really, really connected with, especially because that one character you portrayed, I guess, was a real human being. And for a long time in video games, women weren't always portrayed as real human beings. What can you tell us, I guess, about the work that went into portraying the character Jack in the Mass Effect franchise?
Jack was very personal for me. I get very emotional talking about her because she is, I would say, like my alter ego, or me when I was younger, that the thing that I loved about her, and I think that people there was a lot of things about that character that people responded to. I think her being sexually fluid was of interest, but it wasn't the most important thing. Mm-hmm. I think she was accessible to a lot of people of, different persuasions, because I think we all have that element in us that is a little feral, a little unchecked and wild. And, we're really, especially as women, we're taught from a very young age to behave. And I think she was appealing in her look because she was different than a lot of women in games have been portrayed. She was fearless in a lot of ways, but also very emotional, very raw and emotionally available on the inside. And I think she was just a little bit of a surprise. I think the reason that she got the attention that she did was there haven't been a lot of those characters, and that if you kind of take away all the bells and whistles, that there is a Jack in everybody, male and female. And I think she portrayed that for a lot of people. And that's, even if it's not recognizable in yourself, it's attractive. Mm-hmm. Because somewhere, even if you haven't taken that on, that exists. And there is an attraction for that. That's one of the reasons there's a million reasons why I love that character. But I definitely feel like men reacted to her because she was sort of fearless and brash and different, and women for the same things, but also because she was attractive and sexy and totally different, and really represented a sexy woman that doesn't look like your typical sexy woman and doesn't act like your typical sexy woman.
From an actor's perspective, what was it like, I guess, because you talked about the importance of it and kind of the alter ego of what Jack was in Mass Effect for you. From an acting perspective, how was the process to kind of reach this character? Was it, did it take a lot? Was it a lot of that intrinsic energy and looking into yourself, or was it something that you were able to work out and explode and took a bit of time to reach? Because I'd love to know the process of reading the line Jack tattooed badass to what we have now years and years later of this really full-fleshed character.
I feel like I have a big Jack streak, and that Jack was very much how I was in high school. And so, I mean, actually, I had both of Jack's hairdos in high school. I was bald and had a mohawk.
There you go.
And so immediately when I saw what she looked like, I was like, oh, I mean, I had a mohawk when I went to prom. And so she just felt like she had, Brian Kendrigan wrote her for Mass Effect 2, and Patrick Weeks wrote her for Mass Effect 3. And I know both of those gentlemen now, but I didn't when I was cast. And it felt like they went and read my diaries and looked through my photo albums, and that rage at the world and having a lot of it turned inward, a lot of blame, a lot of, guilt for what had happened in her past. I could relate to a lot of those things, a lot of not having a sort of standard toolkit to deal with a standard life because you don't have a standard life. So yeah, it felt very personal to me, but it was shockingly easy to find her. And I do think that we all have that in us. Maybe we've tamed it more as adults, or some people more than others, but for me, she was right there.
There you go. And what was it like? You talked about it a little bit earlier about the reception of a character like Jack. How was Jack received, and what has that reception meant to you as an actor, and I guess also as a human being? Because I've spoken with Patrick Weeks, a lot of people from Bioware, that talk about the importance of these characters to the fans. From an acting perspective, what's it been like for you?
It's been one of the most gratifying things that I've done. I cannot say enough how important it is to represent characters that fall outside of the norm. Our society has a ton of variety in it. There are people who have a whole spectrum of who they love, how they love, what they look like. And I think representation in games is starting to reflect that, and I'm so honored. And I was so thrilled at the time. I mean, I grew up as a punk rocker, getting my hair pulled, getting punched, getting beaten up because of what I looked like. And so being able to play a character and I truly believe that familiarity breeds acceptance. And what you see on the television screen, I think if, the more characters that we have like Jack, the less, maybe the less hate crimes, the less intolerance, that we'll see, because people saw Jack originally and were like, I remember specifically somebody saying when the Jack trailer came out, like, I'm going to shoot that bitch out of the airlock as fast as I can. And I think she won people over with the depth of her story, but it means a lot to me to meet fans that come up and say, I so appreciate you helping create this character, because obviously, it was a team effort, but it means a lot for me to see myself represented. up there because I'm gay or because I don't look like every other pretty girl on the planet. I don't act the same way. And I thank Bioware for really pushing the envelope as far as sexual orientation with characters. I think these are things that it's 2016 and acceptance needs to be the norm, for these kinds of characters. And when I have somebody walk up and say, I'm so glad that Jack exists because my daughters get to grow up and see this woman. Thank you for portraying these kind of characters because we need to see more of them. I want my daughters to know they don't have to fit in the way everyone says they do. Or that somebody says, thank you for putting that character out there. I get bullied all the time for the way I look. And I feel like I see myself up there and it makes me stronger. It makes me happy. I've had young women over and over have those conversations with me. So I'm incredibly grateful to BioWare for putting those things out. And I really encourage other game companies to, even if that's not you in the everyday, that's the magic of games is that you can play somebody completely different than who you are. So why not? This is magic. It's a completely open field. Let's explore the whole goddamn thing.
Big thank you again to Courtenay Taylor, VO actor, talking all about the work she's done in this industry for so many years. Mass Effect, Fallout, Resident Evil, tons of games you love. Just on a final note here, Courtenay, what advice, I guess, would you give to young voice actors that want to get into this industry? Like you said, now it seems like it's more of a norm that there are these great stories being told. It's not just BioWare that does it anymore. What is some advice you'd give to someone that really wants to, they saw your depiction of Jack and said, I want to do that? What would you tell them?
I'd say thank you very, very much. That thrills me to the core. And I would say it's a beautiful day in wherever you live and anything can happen, that you are truly, the exception to every rule if you want something bad enough. I started acting very late. I was not one of those kids that grew up on the stage, and I just wanted to do this. This is the thing that makes my heart full. And I hope I continue to get to be able to do that. But you have to have the same kind of feeling. If it's the thing that makes you tick, you are entitled, no matter what anyone else says, to follow your dream. So you can be the exception to any rule. Just get after it and, do the work. Do the work that supports that dream. Don't be lazy. Don't think that it's going to be handed to you because it is, it's a competitive world. But your true north, follow that because that's what's going to make you the happiest.
Big thank you again, Courtenay Taylor, VO actress extraordinaire. This is Andy Burkowski, VGS Talk Radio, AM 640.